Hey, what's up, YouTube? So I'm back with another video, a DIY. I just recently ordered a oil cooler, and I just received it. So I'm kind of doing a unboxing and kind of show you guys the quality and what comes with the actual oil cooler. It's an FTP oil cooler. And this is for those of you guys that have several mods already. This is for the e90 N54 platform, and so those of you guys that have modifications already, and you're pushing anywhere from 380 to 400 wheel, you may be interested in getting a secondary oil cooler. I have a stock one, and I'm just adding the secondary one because after having several modifications on the vehicle with about 400 wheel, it starts oil temperature starts rising. Right now, I'm currently hitting about it's about 230 to 240 on the temperature gauge, and so I figured why not try and add a secondary oil cooler to help manage the temperature, and not only that, but it also helps for reliability. And so anyway, I'll be providing my review, how I think it's working, and I'll provide you guys with some polls to show how it's actually working from my current temps. Like I said, I'm running about 230 to 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and so we'll see what it helps out with. You guys, the actual kit. The kit consists of these. It looks like they're stainless steel hose lines. The kit comes with the actual adapter that hooks to the oil housing, and this looks like it's very good quality. It doesn't look like it's any cheapo model or brand. Very good quality, and comes with the actual bolt itself as well. Bolts through the middle, and this also has the cooler here, and you notice it's got the adapter lines here, and this is the kit by FTP, which Bavarian Auto stocks and sells. So if you are interested in running cooler temps, this will be a kit that will help you out. And then the other part that I also got was I just figured, since I'm in there, I might as well get the thermostat. And this wasn't very expensive at all. New thermostat to help regulate the temps, maybe run it even cooler. Okay guys, so here I am. Here's my 335. I already got it lifted, jack stands. And so one of the first steps that we're going to do to get this install done is we have to remove the front bumper on the actual fender liner. So 1, 2, and 3. That will remove this side of the bumper. We have to do the same thing on the other side. And we also have to remove the fasteners that are holding the bumper down in the front. There's another bolt here. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remove those, and I'm going to remove this piece here, which is held in here. I think those are T25s, here and here, and then I'll come right back. All right, guys. So I already got the screws off that are in the front. There's a total of 4 here on the front. Got the snorkel piece off, and the front snorkel, and this other Well, I guess I call it snorkel. So anyways, I got those removed. I got the all the bottom screws that hold the front bottom part of the bumper removed, and there's 3 on each side, 3 bolts on the fender well that you have to remove. I'm gonna try and get a good shot here. There's one here, another one here, and another one up there. Okay guys, so I was able to remove the bolts. They weren't too bad. You just gotta push down on that, on the actual inner liner of the fender well. This is where one of the bolts was at here, and the other one was here. Once that's removed, the entire front bumper should come off. I did both sides, so now my bumper has parking sensors, so that's going to be another obstacle for me. And that's what the front of the car should look like without the front bumper. Note, my vehicle had the parking sensors. That's why it was a little more difficult to remove it. And the front fog lights, gotta remember to remove those. And to remove these bolts, it's a T27. Then the next thing is going to be to cut this unit here, and possibly here as well. Okay guys, so far what I've completed is I went ahead and cut this section and cut this top piece out as well. Now I have plenty of room to put the oil cooler. I was thinking of having it sit up front, but that plastic that I just removed actually sits in to this section, so this has to sit back a little bit. And looks like what I'm going to be doing is running the line over through this side. It runs underneath the light right through the back here, and there's plenty of room for both of them to go through, and they'll end up right here, right where that adapter for the oil cooler is going to set up right there. Okay, so far what I've done here is, if you notice, this front piece that goes in front of the car, what I did is I ended up cutting. There was like this high, and it was all plastic in this area. What I just did is I just cut it down in front and took it off, because when I set it on the car, all this plastic here covers a lot of the air that's going to hit the oil cooler, and it's going to restrict some airflow. And another thing that that I also did, well, besides having this cut here, I actually had a piece it was still kind of coming down. This section here was kind of going down. I wanted to keep as much as I could, but Then when it comes to putting the hose in there, these side pieces were going to actually be in the way, so the actual stranded steel hose will go through here and it'll be restricted. So I figured I'd just cut these up a little bit more. It's not the best cutting. I'm going to clean it up a little bit more, straighten it out, but that's another thing you might want to consider as well for the hose to run through. Okay, so an update. What I did is I bought these, they're like 45-degree angle little brackets, and these are going to work like a charm in this installation process. So anyway, I already went ahead and mounted 2 of them. The holes were a little smaller, so I drilled them out a little bit bigger, if you notice there. And anyway, like I said, they're 45-degree angle because this part slopes down, so you can kind of see it's right within this little section. I measured the oil cooler, and it sat perfectly right in that area, and that's where the bolts would be. So, and they snug up perfectly, and it's nice and square. So now that I set the actual oil cooler, it sits perfectly right on that hole on each side. So there's this side. So it sits perfectly on both sides. So there's that side and there's that side. So, and it sits perfectly level, and it's right in the center as well. Okay guys, so what I did is I went to my local hardware store and I bought looks like this is maybe like a 3/4 inch piece of metal. And what I did is I went ahead and cut off a piece that I needed. And if you notice here, I actually custom made these. They're not all that great. I couldn't find anything like this that was Z-shaped bracket, so I made my own. And if you notice, but I had to make my own Z-shape, and then I just drilled in some holes. And right as it sits, the bottom is a little tight, not like fully tightened down, and the top, the bolts are just kind of, I just put them in, but they're not like fastened down. The ones on the top are, but not the bottom ones. But just as it sits there, if I move it, it's already kind of snug, very well secured already. So anyway, that kind of gives you an idea. Once I tighten those down, that's not moving anywhere. It looks pretty secure, looks straight, and looks custom fitted. So yeah, so far so good. Next step now is just to go ahead and start setting up the hoses. Okay guys, so sorry I didn't show you guys some of the other steps. So I drained the oil already, and what I did is I removed this the oil line from the bottom here. It's just one bolt. It's just this bolt right here. Just remove that bolt from the bottom of here, and that comes right off under there. I kind of rigged a gallon of milk there, so that way whatever after draining all the oil, there were still, you know, a little bit of oil, not a whole lot, but it's still enough to make a nice mess. So I got that set up there. I removed these two. I had to actually remove this eTorx bit here, and I believe that was a bolt here. It's an eTorx E14. Make sure that you have eTorx sockets, otherwise that's going to be a pain in the butt to remove. If you do have sockets, eTorx,
I would suggest buying a little kit of e-Torx. I got this one at your local hardware store or AutoZone, automotive store. And also make sure that you have some Allen wrench Torx bit as well. I also have the actual e-Torx in that form, but it's a good idea to have a little kit like this. But okay, so anyway, I removed the fan assembly. Fan assembly's gone. That's why I have so much room here. And my fan is right over there on the ground. So got that removed, got this removed. I'm gonna go ahead and replace that thermostat sensor real quick and plug it back in. I'm not gonna be able to film while I'm holding that thing because it's quite a bit of pressure that I gotta hold on down to bolt it back in. And so I'll show you the after. Now just showing you a little more of an update. I went ahead and replaced the actual thermostat sensor already. It gives you instructions when you buy the sensor on how to put it in. It wasn't as tight to hold this cap down than what the original was on there. It's actually a little less springy, so I'm guessing that helps out with, you know, the temperature. It opens up a little sooner or something. Put back the bolts here, torque them down, and the next thing I did is I went ahead and put the adapter here, and if you can see it, it's just a simple adapter that goes right underneath this unit here, and these go right underneath this box, this junction box. And so now it's got the two more openings. That's where the hoses are gonna fit into there, and on the other end it'll come on this here. The only downside to this is replacing the thermostat sensor is that there is a gasket, a rubber gasket around here, just like there is for the thermostat housing and for the other housing for the coolant. I looked everywhere for this rubber gasket that goes in between this metal and the actual housing here for the for the cooler, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, yeah, I kind of looked for it everywhere. The only thing I can look and find is the whole unit here, but well, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't leak. All right, guys, so I finally got the hoses installed. I got them nice and tightened up. I went ahead and tightened up the bolts for the brackets and the bottom bolts as well. Both hoses are installed. There's one and there's the other. Fairly tight. And if we look at it from this view, looks pretty straight. So anyway, hoses I had to cut in through. I miscalculated a little, so that's why it's got that hole there. But that's fine. It's going to be covered up. You should probably try and cut the side through there. Both hoses go there, and then they go through the bottom, and I hooked both of them up. For those of you that this is your first time, well, it's my first time as well, but it does not matter which hose goes where. It pretty much just cycles through. So when the oil gets pushed through one of the hoses, it returns through the other, and so that's pretty much, doesn't really matter which hose you plug in where. And I made sure they were tightened down, and that's what that looks like there, finished up. Let's see if I can get a better, closer shot here. So the bottom is bolted down, and yeah, so that's what that looks like. If you obviously watched the beginning of the video, you've seen how I dismantled the bumper and all the snorkel and all the little things that I had to take off. It's exactly the reverse. Just a few pointers on things that I ran into little issues with that will help you not run into them. So first, let's get an image here of what it looks like. So if you can see, nice centered oil cooler in the front. You can see closely there would be plastic here, but the good thing was that I cut this section of plastic out inside. Same thing on the other side. You can kind of see that plastic thing there, and it would be kind of covered in this section, only allowing this part of the oil cooler and this part to get air. So this way the entire oil cooler gets the air. So anyway, you can see the braided steel lines going through there. It kind of gives it a nice little look. And anyway, some of the few things now to notice that I ran into, since the oil cooler is somewhat thick, unlike some of the other oil coolers that I've seen that are really long, they're really thin. Thing you got to worry about is the actual latch here that hooks on. When I first started closing it, it actually, because of the thickness, it actually bumped it a little, and I don't know if you guys can tell there, it actually tipped right on the edge. So what I did to resolve that, and it's not a big deal, I just grabbed a wrench, slightly tweak it, and if you notice, I just slightly tweaked it a little bit. It's less than about 1/4 inch, and that was sufficient enough to clear. And as I said, it hit right there, so it just had to slightly clear. It's not very much. So you may run into this problem if you don't install your oil cooler with sufficient space back, but you, at the same time, you don't want to install it too close to the actual radiator, that it doesn't come into contact whatsoever. Closes smoothly, and everything looks good there. So anyways, and I think you can probably see the hook right in front of it over there. Okay guys, so the time has come to run a few pulls and see what the temp on my vehicle is setting up at after installing this oil cooler. If you notice the time, it's what is it? It's like 2 o'clock, 2:03. So I'm letting the vehicle warm up. Let's go ahead and take it out, and I'm gonna drive it in sport mode, so that way I can see if I can get some higher temps. I'll do quite a few revs and notice the time is 2:10, so I'm not cutting or editing this video. I'm still running the sport. You can see the sport mode there, and
haven't done any pulls again, but I'm gonna do one right here. Temps are still holding steady. If you actually notice, my temps are just below 200, so it's like 190, 195, something like that. Okay guys, so I'm gonna give you my take on the actual FTP oil cooler. After having it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I want to say it's a little closer to 3 weeks, running the vehicle, sprint driving, and then, you know, taking it back down a notch and driving it normal. I have to say that that the oil cooler is well worth it. It gives you a little bit of peace of mind. It may not be like the high performance oil coolers that that take up the whole front end. But it does the job, and I want to say that after driving it and experiencing the low temps as I'm driving, like I said, I started from original 230 to 240 to after being installed, running the vehicle at a lower temp of 200, 190, and when actually I was getting up on the vehicle a little more and at a higher speed, my temps ended up dropping to anywhere from 180 to 170. Pretty consistent with that temp, and you know, so I'd have to say that it is well worth getting that oil cooler, just to be able to get yourself a little more reliability out of the vehicle. Anyway, so if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. I'm constantly putting up new material and new content for all those guys out there that are like me, do it yourself.